Of the next guest. He's the new man in charge of Surrey County Council.
It's the best quality services that we can possibly deliver to our residents.
Well, it's a week today since Tim Oliver formally took over as leader of the council. He joins us live here on BBC Surrey Breakfast. And I suppose good morning to you. Before we get going and ask about your plans and the challenges you're facing, maybe for people who don't know you, Tim, you could give us an idea of who you are, your experience and, what you're bringing to the role.
Yes, good morning, James. Yes, I'm Tim Oliver. I'm, recently elected as the leader of Surrey County Council. I'm the County Councillor for Weybridge. First elected as a Borough Councillor to Elmbridge in 1999 and have served either on Elmbridge or the county pretty much for the last 20 years.
And what about your background? What have you done for a living and that kind of stuff?
I'm a solicitor by background. I built up a business with some other partners and then retired from that about 4 years ago and have focused entirely on voluntary charitable work and on local government.
Now, we know about Surrey's financial problems, and you're holding several consultations about the future of services, including closing children's centres and rubbish tips. Now, we've heard a lot of concern about this on the programme, including in Tandridge, and this is the leader of the District Council, Martin Fisher, speaking to us earlier this morning. Have a listen.
I visited our children's centre in Hurst Green, which is one of the 4 under threat last week, and clearly their focus on helping those in most deprived areas, young families, is really important. And I think we feel that to close or potentially close 4 out of 5 of our children's centres is unfair.
So, Tim, what do you make of that?
I completely understand where Martin Fisher's coming from. He wants to do the best for his residents, as do I. But I think we need to focus on the service and not on the buildings. This is all about finding a better way to support the people in our communities, those people that need our help the most. And you can't necessarily do that from a building. It's about getting our teams into the communities and getting to those people in the most effective way that we can. And that's exactly why we're widely consulting on how best we can do that. Consulting with the district and boroughs, consulting with the voluntary and the charitable sector.
Now, Tim, we could ask you lots of questions we've come up with in the newsroom, but in fairness, we've thrown it out to the people of Surrey, who've been pretty direct in what they want to hear from you. Leslie, can you ask some of the questions to Tim?
Yeah, so this message has come in from Cassie saying, how will Surrey County Council support families in the future when the reduced children's centre lifelines become unavailable to most of the county, leading to many more problems as families struggle to cope without their support and the vital groundwork being implemented as now, asks Cassie.
I think that's exactly as I've said. I mean, we accept that the way in which we're delivering these services and the support to the families isn't as good as it should be. That is why we need to look at doing this a different way. Just because it's been done in one way in the past doesn't necessarily mean that's the best way in the future. We have consulted extensively with all of the partners. This is about partnership working, bringing everybody together that works with families to find the best way of identifying problems and to stop those problems from escalating.
And on the subject of children's centres, we've had a message in here, there's no name attached to it, saying, can you note the wording of the petition on retaining a children's centre or hub and take a look at the data being used by Surrey County Council for the North Leatherhead locality, as there are clearly many children in low-income families. Are you likely to change your mind on any of this?
Well, I think what we will do, first of all, we'll look very closely at the responses that we get from residents and from our partners. There are a number of centres that have been flagged up as ones that are currently in areas of higher need, and we will look at that. We will look at that. The ones that we have, there at the moment there is no decision taken to close any of these centres, but we will absolutely look at where the centres need to be. I mean, this is the part of the consultation is looking at whether or not a network of hubs would be a better way forward. Also, of course, we are proposing to extend the service up to the age of 11 from 5 as it currently is.
So you're saying it's possible they could all stay open?
I'm saying that we will have a look at all of the responses and we will consult with our partners, many of whom have offered to help in a number of different ways, and we will then go back out and explain how we think we can deliver this service in a better way.
So we've had a message in from Ryder. He says the socially disadvantaged of Surrey will be those most affected by council cuts. As a privileged and reputedly wealthy person, what have you done yourself to enable you to understand the needs of Surrey's socially disadvantaged?
This isn't about me. This isn't about me, and I don't propose to explain my own family circumstances. But I have spent 20 years in public service and have given a lot of time to the charity sector. This is about Surrey and the people that work for Surrey County Council and finding ways in which we can do this in a better way. I accept that. We haven't done this as best that we can, and that's why I've taken on this leadership role to make sure that we do going forward.
Well, Dan has been in touch. He sent us a text with his message saying, given many of the county's serious financial problems have been caused by austerity measures of successive Tory chancellors, have they ever considered resigning their party membership and running the council as independents? They effectively support their own demise currently, says Dan.
This isn't about walking away from our responsibilities. The government have just announced some additional funding for special education needs and disabilities, and they've announced some further funding for roads and for adult social care. We're working closely, and we will work closely with government to fight the case for Surrey.
So we should move on to allowance payments, which came up yesterday. We heard from opposition parties who criticised the new allowance payments of £10,000 for some Surrey County councillors on the Cabinet. Lib Dems have said it creates a public perception that councillors have their noses in the trough. This is what Eva Kington from the Residents Association Group had to say to us.
Surrey County Council actually provides 56 special responsibility allowances, which is almost as many as there are Conservative members of the council. So it does rather sound as though it's money for those who happen to be in the ruling group at the county council.
So how do you defend that, Tim? Because we've had a fair few texts on that subject as well.
Well, first of all, not all of the allowances are paid to Conservative group members. They're also paid to independents and to Liberals. As far as the deputy's role is concerned, we asked the Independent Remuneration Panel to have a look at that, to look to see what the workload was and the responsibilities and benchmark that against other authorities. We're about to go through a massive transformation and modernisation programme. We need to find 200 million of savings from our budget by delivering our services in a different way. I need to have some capacity in the Cabinet to help me do that. And
I want to just mention the Chancellor, because several of Surrey's MPs, of course, are government ministers. We know that. You've said you want to work more closely with them in the future. And BBC Surrey spoke to the Chancellor, Runnymede and Weybridge MP Philip Hammond recently. Here's what he had to say.
Surrey County Council has rightly identified that it has yet more scope to be more efficient and to do business in a different way. It has a huge portfolio of property, for example, some of which is perhaps not used as efficiently as it could be. So there is scope for the local authorities and the county council in particular to do more, and the local MPs are extremely supportive of the work that the county council is doing.
So Surrey hasn't done enough with the properties it owns or runs. Do you agree with Mr. Hammond?
I don't disagree with him, yes. I think that's right. I think that we can maximise and optimise the use of our estate. One of the announcements I made last week was that we would be moving out of County Hall by the end of 2020, and that means we can engage more actively with our residents and be nearer to them. We have a full review underway of all of our operational buildings. We will be reducing the number of buildings that we occupy, and we will be making the best use of those buildings that we can going forward.
How much do you reckon you're going to make from quitting the Kingston headquarters?
I have no idea. I mean, we need to discuss with Kingston what to do with this building. I mean, it's a massive opportunity for the residents in Kingston. It's a statement building in the centre of the town, so I'm sure that the London Borough of Kingston will be very keen to have conversations with us about it.
Yeah, I remember last week when you mentioned that County Hall will be coming back to Surrey. Dr. Andrew Povey, who used to be a council leader, has said on Twitter that that it would be good, but it's never been possible to make a viable economic case previously. Are you worried about that?
No, not at all. No, I mean, I think that this is that we will look at, and we are looking at where our teams can best be located, and we will be reducing the size of our head office function, so to speak. And economically, I think there's a very strong case for us moving out of County Hall back into the county.
And Tim, do you have any message for your predecessor, David Hodge? Were you surprised he stepped down, or he is stepping down as a councillor?
No, I'm not surprised. I think David did a tremendous job running the council in incredibly difficult circumstances, and we've been through a massive period of austerity, as we know. David felt that it was the right time now for him to hand over, we are, as I say, going through a massive period of change, and he felt that with a new chief executive and a new leadership team, it was probably right to have a new political leadership. So I wish him all the very best in his retirement.
And you're a week in. Are you enjoying it?
I am enjoying it in that I'm very much looking forward to driving our agenda for change. This is about how we can better deliver services to our residents, and that's going to be my complete focus as we go forward.
Good talking to you. Thanks for your time this morning. Look forward to catching up in the coming months and years here on BBC Surrey. The leader of Surrey County Council there, Tim Oliver.